Hi, everyone. Welcome to week number 5. Congratulations on successfully completing your Précis in week number 4. That's the first major assignment. So, you all are doing well finding the rhythm of the class, doing your readings according to schedule, and then filling out your quiz and your journal reflections, which have been great. So, I've been really happy with that. I'm starting to grade your papers and should have them back within a week. My goals are usually to have all your graded assignments back to you within 1 week. The only exception is your group project, in which you have to post your project. I take a initial look at it, and then I will. Then we're going to post them to the class, and the class will look at them, ask questions, etc., and you can answer questions, and then you'll get a final grade based on your project, and then your interactions in the module on questions, etc., and asking others questions. So that group project, don't worry about that. In week number 7, I will post the instructions to the project, the group assignments, etc., to give you a running start on that. And then in week number 8, you'll be producing your group project, and that's going to be, you will be assigned a ethical question or ethical topic, and then you'll work together to formulate a Christian response using the methodology that we've talked about in class together. And then you'll take a position on that particular topic and interact with one another over the topic as we post your group project. So that's a really fun week, and you work. It's asynchronous, so you do the best you can with a group project given the circumstances. And I don't grade them particularly hard, but I'm looking for how you will interact with the different methodologies that we've talked about and apply them to a specific question. So we're going to look at a few things over the course of the next couple of weeks and try to give examples of that, and then you'll be able to do that yourself during week number 8. So here's how to have a successful week number 5. The first thing is there's a short article that I wrote on Genesis and the abundant life. And the emphasis of that article is how do we do ethics in a relational kingdom. And so you'll just be able to read that. It's my kind of reflection, personal devotion, reflection, academic work on the relationship between John, and especially John chapter 20, verses 30 and 31, and Genesis chapters 1 and 2, and the theme of life that runs through both the book of John and Genesis in the first 1 through 11 chapters, but especially chapters 1 through 3. So we'll be looking at that together this week, and there is no reading quiz. It's a very short article, and then you can write a journal reflection on the article. There is a lecture from Ethics on the Margins from week number 3, and I didn't post that already because I wanted you to focus on the Précis, but I'm going to talk about liberation theology a little bit, and the goal of when you're doing ethics from the margins, a lot of times when we talk about liberation theology, we talk about being set free. And what I want to say is that's an important aspect of Christian ethics, is to be free from oppression, free from injustice. But it's not the end. The end is not just being free, but moving towards something. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit in those lectures and talk about some of the content of the articles. So there's a short lecture this week. There's the article. And then I would suggest either one, if you haven't already caught up with your reading, then catch up with your reading in weeks number 1 through 4, because it's going to be a little bit of a fast pace starting from here on out with some of your readings. So you can catch up, or you can get a running start on Andrew Sung Park's book, Racial Conflict and Healing, because we're going to turn in week number 6 and week number 7 to the question of race and racial justice in our course. And so we'll begin to apply the different methodologies that we've talked about so far in theory, in practice, to some of these questions on race and racial justice. Some of the lectures you'll find that have been pre-recorded, and they are a little bit time bound because I recorded them during the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. And so that was a pretty substantial movement in our country, and I like the lectures that I've done in those, and so I've kept them, and then I'll add a little bit as we go along in week number 6 and week number 7 for that. But for this week, the article on Genesis and the Abundant Life, and then second is there's some lectures on ethics from the margins, and towards the end of the week, as you finish the article on Genesis and the Abundant Life, I'll post a lecture on that, talking about the relationship, especially between love and justice, which you've read a little bit in Kingdom Ethics, and I want to tie them together a little more closely, even than what Stassen and Gushee do. So, and it's an important conversation on how those are tied together, especially in evangelical culture right now, as we kind of still are on the heels of talking about critical race theory, as we're talking about race and racial injustice and some of those questions. We need to, I think, understand what is the relationship between love and justice in a biblical ethic. So that's going to be this week. Get a running start on Andrew Sung Park's book, Racial Conflict and Healing. I think you'll like a lot of that book. I don't agree with everything in that book, but it's some really important concepts, especially early on. So yeah, you all are doing great. I hope to have the grades back to you by Friday, and Charlotte and I are working on those this week, and really appreciate the hard work that you put in on the Precies. So yeah, have a great week, and enjoy. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.